right, good evening, everyone. Welcome once again to more Sports and Les Levine into our 23rd consecutive year, seen simulcast at this point with our friends at Spectrum Sports and as well as cleveland.com. We bring in Jim Ingram, who has been lost. Where have you been over the...
I've been on special assignment. That's all I can say.
All right, well, then we're done with the show. If you can't say anything else, I'm not going to do an hour by myself.
No, that's a completely separate thing.
Separate issue.
Yeah.
How are you?
Good, good. Yeah.
So what are your Indians doing?
They're trying to continue to win while spending less money, which is a little bit tricky. But when you're in the division they're in, maybe they can pull it off.
Yeah, I keep hearing the White Sox are going to be good one of these years. I don't see it unless they are successful in their hunt for the big money free agents.
Yeah, they keep getting mentioned in the Harper and the Machado sweepstakes, and
that can't be, can it?
You wouldn't think if you were either of those players, you would want to. I mean, even as great as they are they going to make them into World Series contenders just by themselves? Or?
No, but Yonder Alonso might.
Well, I forgot about that. You're right. I withdraw that observation.
So at this point, with the mixing and matching that the Indians are doing, they're basically either right about the same on the field. They're about right at the same point they were before all the things started, or they're a little behind. Right now, you can't make a case that they're better today than they were a month ago.
No, absolutely not. But I think the parameters have changed. The parameters are. Can we do what we want to do or something close to it without trading or altering the biggest strength of the team, which is the starting rotation. Right. Now, some would argue that that's you got that
that's
surplus.
Your chip.
Yeah, that's your chip, and make the most of it now. My preference, which will, then they're not going to call me and ask me for it, so I'll just tell you, would be just keep both pitchers one more year. Just give it one more year and see what happens. Yeah, I mean.
Well, do you think they just floated it out there that they were interested in getting rid of them and just to see what offers would come out of nowhere?
This can happen in a lot of different ways. Maybe, like for example, in Kluber's case, what if he wasn't crazy about it? His agent agrees with them, and I'm not saying this happened, but if a player was in that situation and didn't want to be traded, and they knew that the public backlash would be there if they got out
with the player.
Maybe the agent gets it out there just to stimulate the negativity that might follow that kind of a thing.
Well, it's interesting because we're going through this with the Browns and the coaching situation where the unofficial polls that are being taken are 80% or so in favor of keeping Greg Williams. Who would have thought that would happen?
Well, yeah, I mean, but who would have thought they'd go 4-2? I think if you're drawing up the hypothetical, which is no longer hypothetical, when he took over, if someone would have said he's going to go 4-2 in his first 6 games, how would you think about him then? You would probably say, well, then we would have to think about him, but that's not going to happen.
Right. Yeah. So we'll tell you that we'll think about it, but we're wink, wink. We're really not going.
But it has happened, and now here we are. And if anything, the guy that probably, John Dorsey's got to decide, how much stock do you want to put in what's happened to this point, and how much do you want to have your own guy and get him into position.
What's the answer?
I think these next 2 games are probably pretty important for that very reason. I mean, if they lose these 2, it brings down some.
It's an easy out.
Yeah. If they win both of them, boy, there's not a lot of precedence for this thing, because usually when you fire a coach or a manager at midseason and name an interim, that's basically you're running up the white flag.
And what you're doing is when Dorsey came here. This is my understanding of it. When he came here, he probably didn't want Hugh Jackson as his coach, and probably Jimmy and Dee Haslam said, just bear with us on this one, and then you'll get the coach you want if it doesn't work out. Yeah. Well, all right, it didn't work out, and so I'd like to see the hip pocket. We keep hearing about pieces of paper in the guy's hip pocket, with names of people. It must be a hip pocket that bulges way out. Yeah. But my guess is there's somebody on his list, and it wasn't Greg Williams.
Right, yeah, I would say that's very likely.
So where did Greg, if that's correct, on a list of 10, where did Greg Williams pop up? I feel like Casey Kasem here.
Well, when this thing began, when the day
he
they
was
made
an
the
11th
move,
out of 10.
yeah, exactly. I mean, like interims, almost by definition,
Right.
are substitute teachers. You know,
So where is he? He's got to be on a list somewhere.
yeah, I would say he's got to be top 5 right now.
Top 5.
Yeah, I mean, you can't discount what he's done with this team, especially because of how bad it looked before he took over. I mean, this wasn't like a gradual. All of a sudden, they're starting playing better.
Right.
It was like somebody hit the light switch, and everything just took off when they got rid of Hugh Jackson and made Greg Williams the coach. Now, how much of that was getting rid of the old guy, and how much of that was the new guy's stuff he's doing? That's the debate.
Then you have a situation if Dorsey wants 2 guys ahead of Williams and they turn him down. Now you're almost stuck with him. You don't want to be stuck with this coaching call.
No.
You want the guy you really want.
Yeah, they've been down the other road before, where they just had to take who would take them, basically. You know, maybe you think about it this way: if we don't bring Williams back, and the guy we bring in goes, 4-12 next year,
Ouch.
how is that going to look?
Well, Greg Williams will be available.
Yeah, it really does put Dorsey on the hot seat, because if you don't bring Williams back, and if he wins, even if he goes 1-1 in the last 2 games, you don't bring him back.
You better be right.
You better be right, yeah, because and then there's all these little subplots, like with Freddie Kitchens. I mean, all of a sudden, maybe he's a candidate.
Who was he a month ago?
Exactly.
2 months ago.
Yeah, and so it's gotten really good as far as the results have been, but it's gotten very complicated for the general manager.
216-575-0403 is the number to call. Let's check out MS&LL headlines for the day, brought to you by our friends at Northfield Park, where there's live and simulcast racing every day at 12 noon. 5-star defensive end Zach Harrison from Olentangy is going all the way to Ohio State. That would have been a tough loss.
Remember when they used to have the regional drafts, or the NBA used to have those?
Yes, that's how the Cincinnati Royals got Roscoe Robertson and Jerry Lucas.
Yeah. Imagine if they had that now.
The Browns all get all the Ohio State guys. That wouldn't be a bad deal. Speaking of Ohio State guys, Denzel Ward is practiced today, so that's good news. And 4 National League teams at least are talking about trading for Corey Kluber. One I'll talk about in a minute, which is sort of astounded both of us that the Cincinnati Reds are in that discussion.
Yeah, I just don't get that at all. I mean, they lost 95 games last year, and why would you want to give up your 2 top prospects for a guy that's 32 years old, and you're not going to win the pennant next year, even if you signed him and probably Bryce Harper.
Doesn't make sense. Makes sense for Philadelphia and maybe a couple of the other teams that are involved.
Yeah.
Jim Ingram with us from the Chronicle-Telegram, and we mentioned Denzel Ward. He was chosen to the Pro Bowl game, which most of the players who go deep into the playoffs and into the Super Bowl don't play. So the Browns have 2 players chosen to play, and 6 players as alternates, and I would guess 4 or 5 of those will probably actually show up at Orlando for that. Let's hear what Denzel Ward had to say about that selection to the Pro Bowl team.
I mean, the year's not over yet, so I'm still just trying to go out there, work hard, and do my job and help this team win. So my main focus is on helping this team win. It's not really about any personal accolades right now, so I'll see about that after the season.
What do you think you've improved on most since the start of the year?
Like I said, just my confidence going into the game. I was confident before, but just knowing that I could play with anybody out here and go into the game and not really having that worry, I could just go out there and play.
Just getting back to the Miles thing, too. Just how deserving was Miles of this honor, too? What kind of season did you keep his?
Yeah, Miles been very dominant, one of our key players that we need on this team. We can always count on him to go out there, get a sack, and just affect the game on the line of scrimmage.
When they drafted you, they said you would help Miles by giving him a little bit more time to get to the quarterback. So you feel it's been mission accomplished?
Yeah, I feel I helped him a little bit, just covering up guys. And Miles is already a freak of nature, and so he's going to do his job and get to the quarterback whether I was here or not.
Do you think about, corner and pass rusher, the most important positions on defense? Do you think about what it means for the Browns, you guys, first and second year in the league? together as a tandem, what kind of future you guys could have?
Yeah, I mean, it's a bright future here with the Cleveland Browns. It's not just me and Miles. It's me, Miles, Jabril, Demarius. It's all of us. We all work as a team, and without one of those guys, we don't work. So everybody just got to be on the same page, and we got to keep it going.
Where do you think this team is going? How fast can it get there?
I'll say the sky's the limit for this team. We got a lot of talented players, and as you guys seen, we've been on a roll, nice little win streak. Got to keep it going, but just staying positive and working hard and just staying focused.
What's it been like for you?
All right, so there you go. Miles Garrett and Denzel Ward chosen for the as Pro Bowlers, and Batonio, Chubb, as well as Colquitt, the punter, Landry, Baker Mayfield, and Zeitler, all chosen as alternates, and most of those will probably see some action in that game. We're going to take a break. We'll come on back. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. Jim Ingram is here. If you've been watching the last couple of days, you know it's when I say you can get in right now, I mean it. You won't be able to get in a couple of minutes. So if you wanted to call the show, now is the time to do it. 216-575-0403. You can also follow us on Facebook. Facebook.com/More Sports and Les Levine, with new content posted each and every day. Jim Ingram and I return in a moment. More Sports and Les Levine comes your way on cleveland.com and Spectrum.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program has been recognizing role model students and teachers since 2007. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Supporting Education. There, you can nominate students in kindergarten through 12th grade as academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as the Teacher of the Month. Every school that participates is eligible for the School of the Year. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
I had bad credit, so I wasn't able to get a bank account or a credit card.
My life is so busy, I don't have time to be standing in line to cash a check.
That's why we created the Netsband Prepaid MasterCard. It puts you in control of managing your money.
I can get my money up to 2 days earlier than everybody else. I don't have to wait till the end of the week to get paid.
Order now at no cost and get paid up to 2 days faster.
Call 1-800-644-0772.
Call now and you can choose your card design.
Today is the 19th of December. I just bought some batteries, alkaline batteries. Oh, that's alkaline. Albatross was born in 1947. This is a good birthday date. Kevin McHale, Reggie White, Warren Sapp, and Mo Williams, formerly of the Cavaliers, and a whole bunch of other teams. What do you have? You got Hall of Famers. You got Kaline's a Hall of Famer, so is McHale, Reggie White, and Warren. I assume Warren Sapp is a Hall of Famer, right?
Yeah, Reggie White is, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I don't know about Sapp.
I don't know. I think he is. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. We're going to start things off in Akron with Dave. Dave, Jim Ingram with us. Go ahead.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Good, Dave.
Hey, I'm looking at the Browns here. If the Browns win out, Greg Williams won't be the coach. Dorsey has no option to give it to him. I mean, how much better can a new coach do than what Greg Williams has done?
Well, what do you mean he has no option? You don't do this to please the fans.
If they change coaches, Dorsey's going to jump on the Williams bandwagon. He has to.
I don't know if he has
change him out. Well, to change him out and bring what would the next coach do better than Greg Williams? I mean, it's all about winning games.
Jim, this is why you're here. Answer that question.
The players like him.
Yeah.
They respond to him.
Oh, hold on a second, Dave. If you go by reporters interviewing players on the team, of course they're going to say they like playing for him.
Well, yeah, but actions speak louder than words.
Okay.
And they're winning. And it's just, I remember, and Williams got a good track record. He's got a Super Bowl ring.
Not as a head coach, he doesn't.
No, but he was on the staff at one of them, so he knows. He's got sort of the roadmap on what those teams look like. I think that for Dorsey to bring somebody else in, if this guy wins out the next 2 games, will be. I think.
What about Dorsey? What about Dorsey, who was handed the keys to the kingdom, and all of a sudden has to say, "Wait a minute, whoever he was in favor of before. Wait a minute, I have to go now with Greg Williams. I can't believe Greg Williams is high on my list.
I can't believe that Greg Williams hasn't earned the spot either by winning out.
Yeah, and I don't think that Dorsey believes it either.
Sometimes the answer is right under your nose and you don't even know it.
Jim, you agree with that?
Because
hold on, Dave.
I kind of tend to agree with the caller. I mean, if he goes 6, what it would be 6-2.
6-2 if he wins these 2 games. And he's a 7-point favorite in this game against Cincinnati.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it would be hard to change. As much as you probably thought this wasn't going to happen and already have another guy on your little list in your hip pocket,
right.
You got to adjust sometimes on the fly and kind of say, wait a minute, maybe I need to take a closer look at this guy.
Yeah, Dave, I see both sides. I really do. But if I'm Dorsey and my career as a GM is dependent on this pick, I don't know that you go with that guy.
I just don't see there's any other option. I don't think he has it. He might as well jump on the Williams wagon because Williams is hot and the players are playing for him.
Right, but you don't make a choice like this based on how the fans feel about it.
Well,
do you?
I'm not saying
no.
You base this on how the team is responding. That's what you base it on, and I'm just basing my opinion on how the team's responding.
Who did he beat that he shouldn't have beaten? Who did he beat that he shouldn't have beaten? You there?
I'm not sure. I can tell you this. I don't think there was many people that thought the Cleveland Browns could end up with a 500 record this year.
Yeah, no question about it. This is a total surprise to everybody.
So when he says the teams they should beat, well, I got to tell you, if it was Hugh Jackson still, do you think we'd be in this position?
No.
Okay.
No, but then hold on. You brought up the entire point here. Do you want to be just better than you would have been with Hugh Jackson, or do you want to have this one choice that you're sure, if you're Dorsey, that you're sure is the one that is the guy that's going to take you to the promised land?
Well, it's hard to argue with results. And if you're bringing somebody in on this guy from the Packers or this guy from Washington, hey, come on, we got a guy here who made it. He's making it happen. And again, it's back to the team. They like him. They're playing for him. They respond.
It's an interesting call.
And I got to tell you, and Baker likes him.
Well, Baker likes Kitchen. We're not. Well, yeah, I would guess that he likes him, but who? I
mean, he likes him.
He doesn't have enough. He doesn't have enough experience in the NFL to know who's good and bad.
Well, but he didn't like Hugh Jackson.
That he knew.
So, and I think he's letting him play football. He's giving him what he wants. And again, I'm back to the same thing. You bring somebody new in, and it changes the dynamic.
Yeah, it's a good point. And usually when you change coaches, you don't need that. You need a big change. They don't need a big change here. Dave, I got to go. Have a great holiday if we don't talk. Myles Garrett is one guy that doesn't need to be changed, and he was selected to the Pro Bowl team. Let's listen in on Myles Garrett.
What's your reaction to making the Pro Bowl?
It's nice. It's step one of many steps to come, and hopefully many more to come.
Can you share your personal accolades with the rest of your teammates, because this is one of the ultimate team sports?
I mean, absolutely has to do with them and how effective they are. I couldn't do this without them being productive on offense and defense on the other side. Them in the back end giving us time and E-Man, Avery, Larry, all the guys inside, and on the other end over here dominating as well. So I just happen to be fortunate enough to make some of the plays that got me here.
Oz, what can you say about Denzel making this rookie? How good has he been for you? What kind of impact has he had?
He's been great. He's been tasked to cover some of the best in the league, and he's done a great job. And for the most part, he's been healthy. He's been able to come up and make plays, make big tackles, and have him hold the ball so we can get there. So it's been great for us.
Do you think about how the pass rush and coverage works together? You're in your second year, he's in your first. Do you think about what kind of future you guys should be able to have together?
Can only get better, because he'll only get better with time. I'll only get better with time. And E-Man, Larry, the sky's the limit for us on defense. So I feel like the more time we have to grow and mesh together, we'll be able to really terrify some quarterbacks.
Did you know right away that Denzel was a special player? Did you know right away that Denzel was a special player?
Yeah.
What stood out to you?
One with just watching him play, just move. He's so fluid and he's so smooth with how he transitions out of his turns, and then hearing Greg get after him. I know he only gets after guys who he's really passionate about. He knows can really have a chance of being great, and he gets after everybody. But it's a different when he really has his eye on you, and he's always had his eye on Denzel. He's always wanted the best for him. So I kind of see it from his perspective and know that he can be really special.
Did he get on you the same way last year?
Oh, absolutely. He still gets on me.
Can you hear the same stuff?
I still hear it, so there's no change.
And if you said the Pro Bowl step 1, what are step 2 and step 3?
Step 2, all pro. Step 3, Defensive Player of the Year. Step 4, win it all.
Jim, that's Myles Garrett playing the role of J.R. Smith for the Browns parade.
He should play with no shirt on, just to intimidate the other team.
Right, exactly. Well, there you see the Pro Bowlers for the Cleveland Browns. You got Myles Garrett as well as Denzel Ward, 38 tackles for Myles, and 12.5 sacks, forced fumbles 3, and pass deflections 3. 48 tackles for Denzel Ward, 3 interceptions, of course 1 fumble, 11 pass deflections, and of course missed a couple of games due to concussion, but he apparently will be back on Sunday. Northfield Park is your home for live and simulcast racing, and you can catch the excitement of live harness racing this week, Sunday through Wednesday, as well as Saturday night with a post time of 6 p.m. It's open early every day for simulcast action at noon for the top thoroughbred and harness tracks all around the world. Free admission, free parking every day at Northfield Park, but they will be closed, of course, on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. Jim Ingram and I return in a moment right here on cleveland.com.
Transform your ugly, damp basement with the beautiful Nature Stone floor. Authentic Nature Stone brand flooring is durable, unaffected by water, and inhibits the growth of mold and mildew. No other floor covering outperforms Nature Stone. For a limited time, when you buy more, you save more. Up to 30, 40, or even 50% off on a beautiful Nature Stone basement floor. That's right, save up to 50% on material and up to 50% on installation. Call or go to naturestone.com today. It's not just a floor, wow, it's Nature Stone.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget. Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
There is a place where dreams arise, stars are born, and greatness is made. What you live for lives here. Spectrum Sports.
More Sports and Les Levine is now available on cleveland.com. To watch, type in cleveland.com/sports into your browser, then click on the More Sports and Les Levine icon, and the self-proclaimed voice of truth and reason is available 24/7 from any computer. You can watch live from 6 to 7 Monday through Friday, or catch taped editions anytime on cleveland.com. Jim, time for a How Come Quickie. How come the baseball winter meetings are over before winter begins? Can you help me with that in any way? Spring training is in winter for the most part?
Still more false advertising.
We caught them this time.
Yeah, the pre-winter meetings, I should call it.
Exactly. 216-575-0403. Warren Sapp was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2013. We were just questioning whether he's in the Baseball Hall of Fame also.
Well, it seems easier to get in there than ever, so yeah, maybe he is.
When did they sneak that? Harold Baines and who
Lee
else?
Smith.
When did they sneak them in?
Well, they have this other...
Anybody know they were voting?
Well, this was the, I think it's called the Current Era Committee or something like that. It's basically been established to try to make up for who's on that committee thinks that the baseball writers screwed up in their vote. And Baines got on there, and a lot of the people that were in the committee that voted him in were guys who had direct part in their careers, like Tony La Russa was on there, I think Joe Torre was on there. And
so it's the era or error?
Well, era, and then
they made errors.
Say error, yeah.
Let's go to the phones. Let's go to Mansfield. We'll say hi to Joe. Joe, go ahead. You're on with Jim Ingram.
Hey, guys, we got to assume that the Indians aren't done yet with making moves and stuff, but...
Have you seen their outfield if they're not done?
I did see you flash it the other night, and that's why I'm calling that. You know, it needs some help.
I've got some eligibility left. I'm going to try out if that's what that outfield is going to be.
But as we speak...
Who is Max Maroff?
Where do you guys see Jason Kipnis playing today? I mean, third base or left field?
Well, he won't be third base. If anything, he'll be second base, and Ramirez will be at third base.
Well, I was just wondering, in your guys' opinion, do you think, you know, if we have to bring him to spring training in the hopes of him playing left field, maybe in those 6-8 weeks or whatever, he could get his arms stretched out and just do a much better job, you know, than he did before in the outfield.
All right, Joe, I subscribe to Gabe Paul's theory that the ball will find you.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
You know that one.
Yeah.
But, you know,
that could be the Jason Kipnis rule.
If you think about it, it found Albert Bell out there too. So
Albert Bell wasn't horrible, and he gave you the offense that Kipnis won't give you.
Well,
so that's not a good comparison.
Obviously, you'd like to try to replace what Brantley did, and I'm hoping if Kipnis could even hit 15 or 250 with his production of last year.
Hold on, Joe. Jim. The Michael Brantley contract, as I know it, is 2 years, 32 million, 16 million a year.
15 or 16 a year, yeah.
Couldn't the Indians have done that?
Evidently not. I mean, they didn't even want to give him that kind of a contract. They offered him the qualifying offer, which I believe is like 18 million 1 year, something like 18 million. And I think they didn't give it to him because they thought he would take it, and he probably would have. But yeah, it's not like.
All right, so let's take a look at what the outfield would be if it opened today. You'd have Greg Allen and.
You can't even predict who it could be.
All right, I won't predict it.
Here's what I know. I went to actually look this up, and I think this still holds. There's 5 outfielders on the 40-man roster, and those 5 guys combined to hit 12 home runs for the Indians last year. So that's you want to pick your 3 starters from that group.
By the way, the deal is $16 million for 2 years, so $32 million for Michael Brantley.
Yeah, and then talk about a lineup that's even better now.
Here you go. Take a look at this. Greg Allen, Leonis Martin will be rotating in center field. Then you've got Thompson, Trace Thompson, who is Clay Thompson's brother, so he's got that going for him. Then Jordan Luplow, a relative of Al Luplow. Tyler Naquin, still trying to figure out why he dropped that ball in the World Series against the Cubs. It doesn't bother me, though.
No, you're over it.
And and Bradley Zimmer, who may not be ready till the All-Star game at best, right?
I would say that Trace Thompson's brother could probably be almost as good as him in the outfield.
Or you can use them both.
Yeah, Clay. Yeah. You could have a multi-Thompson outfield.
Bobby Thompson will be.
I'm not sure Trace is on the 40-man, by the way.
I'm not sure either, but we had to put him in. Had to find some left field, some outfielder there.
Yeah. It's a bus terminal right now.
Wow. Anything else, Joe?
Yeah, I was going to say one more thing. You know, at first look, getting Santana back probably didn't excite a whole lot of people. But I think when you look at the numbers, maybe they're trying to get some people in there who's got a little bit better on-base percentage, because obviously Santana strikes out less than Encarnacion. He walks more. Obviously, he runs the bases better. He's a switch hitter. So now all of a sudden, it doesn't look so bad, you know, him replacing him. And he played a good first base 2 years ago. So
yeah. No, I don't have a problem with him coming back. I have a problem with some of the other things. Thanks so much. Jim, we didn't have Bowers on there.
Yeah, well, he's kind of like a first baseman / outfielder.
Right.
So
I think we had him on our bad
I would
infield
presume, as we sit here today, that he would be the left fielder on opening day.
Right.
But, you know, there's a lot of stuff that could happen.
Can they be improved if they just don't put anybody in left field? Just leave that blank? Since the commissioner wants you not to be able to move from certain positions?
Potentially could be blank even if someone is out there. So we'll see.
It'll take you till the fourth inning to realize you don't have anybody out there. We'll take a break. We'll come on back. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/ I don't mean to laugh in front of one of the great loves of my life, the Cleveland Indians, but
it's early.
It is early. Yeah. Plenty of time to be more upset. Facebook.com/ more Sports and Les Levine. We'll do content posted each and every day. Back in a moment with Jim Ingram. More Sports and Les Levine continues in a moment.
Smile.
No matter how well you provide for your family today, if you don't have life insurance, their future may be at risk. Why not help guarantee those you love $250,000 or more with life insurance through AIG Direct? Less than $14 a month buys a 40-year-old man a $250,000 term life policy. That's up to 3 times what you can get from other companies for the same price. Make the future more secure for those you love.
Call 1-800-723-9758.
It takes attention to detail. With your local Bryant dealer, you're getting more than just a technician. You're getting someone who pays attention to your needs and the little things that make a big difference. It takes the dealer you can rely on. And to keep your family warm this winter,
here, let me show you how this works.
It takes Bryant.
Bryant. Whatever it takes.
It takes Smiley One Heating and Cooling to bring the heat when things get chilly. Find us at 440-449-HEAT.
Let's take a look at this date in sports history. December 19th, 1948, the Cleveland Browns finish an undefeated season by beating the Buffalo Bills, edging them 49-7 in the AAFC championship game in front of a standing only 22,981 at Cleveland Municipal Stadium. You surprised at that crowd?
Sitting room only, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I am. Well, I guess that was back in the days when the Indians actually ruled Cleveland, right?
They did, and won in they won the championship in '48. Also, so did the Cleveland Barons, the Calder Cup winners.
That was when it was called City of Champions. I guess,
it was,
right? Yeah.
And then that 1 year, then we didn't want it anymore.
Yeah, we were just the city.
Just our luck, the Cavaliers won a game last night.
Yeah, how about that?
Yeah.
Larry Nance Jr. with the tip-in.
Tip-in by Larry Nance Jr. Let's listen to what he had to say after the game.
Before, LD, Larry Drew drew up a great out of bounds play, and we got it into the guy we wanted to get it to, Hood, who was playing great, and just wanted to see if we could get him to switch, get him a mismatch up top with Turner, and before we had to go get the ball, and I told Hood, hey, put it up on the rim with a couple seconds left, or at least a tick left, so I can see if I can do something with it, and. He made a good move, did exactly that, and I was lucky enough to get a hand on it and directed it.
That was a tough control because it wasn't just a tip; you had to control it and get it off the glass. Did you even have time to think about that?
No, that type of thing's not really something you consciously think about as it's happening. It's just a reaction, and I'm just glad it paid off.
What can a win like this do for your team? Going against a team that had won 7 straight, best streak in the NBA.
Yeah, I mean, obviously this team was hot. They were and they are one of the best teams in the East, and they're going to be a big problem in the playoffs this year. So getting a win like this and with the type of season and stuff we've been going through is really encouraging, and I think it's big time, showing signs of growth with the guys we had down and the way we fought.
How much of a gap?
That is Larry Nance Jr. after his performance last night. Cavaliers finding a win, 92-91, 58 rebounds to 63, and 3-point field goals. Cavs 6 of 31. That's not good, is it? 6 of 31.
No, I'm no math major, but I don't think it is. How come they never list points outside the paint?
Well, if you can subtract.
Or points near the paint.
I don't know.
We need more stats in sports, don't you think?
Yeah. I think, why do they have all these stats? Just to make the smart guys think that they know the game? I mean, I've said this a million times, that you come up with all these, first of all, you come up with these topics or these numbers.
Yeah.
And then you're going to prove that some guy who wasn't that good was really good, or vice versa. And I know that if you put Babe Ruth's stats into the computer, you're going to find out the guy wasn't very good.
Yeah.
On Tuesday afternoons with runners on third.
Yeah, yeah. There's my incredibly naive opinion of the sabermetrics or analytics era when it started was that I don't think we missed any guys that should be in the Hall of Fame and aren't because we didn't have their batting average on balls in play figure. So I think but I can see why these are of value because speaking in baseball, you can rank the middle tier of players, which are like the biggest group of players in the major leagues is the middle group.
Right.
The guys that are really bad, the guys that are really great are on either end of it. But when your job depends on ranking those guys in the middle who are so close in so many ways, the more you can slice bigger. More times you can slice the statistical pie.
Yeah. But if a guy hits 300, I know that's good. I don't think the average fan out there. I don't think you're going to get more fans by adding sabermetrics into some kind of new way to rank players.
Maybe or maybe not, but I do know that the younger fans that are coming up that this is the norm for them. The sabermetric, the analytics, all those new wave of stats. They were brought up on those, and they pay attention to them. And as difficult it is for us old fogies to kind of digest it and evaluate it, it's a reality, and we can either adapt or like the dinosaurs.
Yeah. Okay, so if a guy hits a ball into the left field bleachers at Progressive Field and hits it 25 rows up, I know that probably was hit harder than one that only went 3 rows up.
Yeah.
So what's the difference? Well, 22
well,
rows.
They would argue that the velocity, exit velocity, is an important stat because it tells you who hits the ball hard the most often, which I actually think is a pretty good stat because I remember thinking when Joe Mauer first came up that it seemed to me that he always hit the ball hard, and now it wasn't quantified back then, but now they have ways to quantify that, and it is kind of overwhelming. My biggest complaint about them is that stats are arrived at, and we don't even know how they're arrived at.
Right.
They just tell you what the stat is.
Right.
And even in the case of like WAR, there's like 3 different websites that produce WAR, and they're all computed differently. So they can. It seems to me you should have an analytics summit where you arrive at one specific formula that everyone agrees on to measure WAR, instead of having 3 different versions of the same stat.
Okay, so I know that in the 60s, whenever Brooks Robinson was up with the runners on base and the game on the line against the Indians, I knew he was going to get that hit. I didn't need to see a stat telling me that. I just didn't want to face him.
Well, the analytics people would tell you that there's no such thing as clutch hitting. I mean, you hit like
you hit the way in any game the way you do in the next game.
No matter what the situation, you're going to hit the way
that's absurd.
The way your track record says you're going to hit. I'll tell you about my biggest complaint about analytics is the defensive metrics say that Omar Vizquel is not even close to being a Hall of Fame shortstop, which to those of us who saw virtually his entire career here, that invalidates the whole defensive metrics to me anyway.
Right.
So
yeah, if you don't put him up on top, you may as well not have that stat.
You know, and he's on the ballot this year, and you know, he got 37% I think last year, which was a good first year showing, and we'll see if he can get up to 75%. But there's some very staunch anti-Vizquel voters out there.
Are there some big names, a lot of big names coming up? Eligible?
Well, this year.
I mean, let me get back to Omar for a minute. If you're going to have, if you're going to have Ozzie Smith in there, you can't tell me that you shouldn't have Omar Vizquel in there.
Yeah. One of the things that the analytics people really don't care a lot for are what they call counting stats, like, you know, where it's not a percentage of what you do, but just the raw numbers. And in Omar's case, I think he played more games at shortstop than anyone. He was second most Gold Gloves than anyone. Yeah. You know, he had almost 3,000 hits, but I think about 2,800 more hits than any shortstop. And you know, I just don't see how you can quantify excellence in defense with numbers. I mean, that's something that you just see. And you know, we see it over and over and over again. I always say that if you'd have taken somebody to a baseball game for the first time they'd ever been to one, and Omar had made a couple of plays he made, that novice baseball watcher would know right away that, well, that guy's really good, because I don't see anyone else doing that.
Well, here, I'll give you the argument why he should be in. And that is, and I hate to say, well, so-and-so is in, so he should be in. If you're talking at the top level with Ozzie Smith and Omar Vizquel, that's one thing. But I would say that if Phil Rizzuto was not the voice of the Yankees for 30 years, he's nowhere near the Hall of Fame. If Bill Mazeroski, who was a second baseman, doesn't hit the home run in Game 7 for Pittsburgh, he's not anywhere near the Hall of Fame either.
Yeah, Mazeroski's an interesting case because he was one of those guys that made it on one of those, the old timers committee put him in. He never got, well, like for example, Harold Baines never got more than 6% of the vote in the writers, and now he's in the Hall of Fame. In fact, he only lasted like three years on the ballot
before he was eliminated.
Yeah. And another guy that the analytics people should love, but apparently don't, is Kenny Lofton. Speaking of people that got screwed in the Hall of Fame, he was only on there one year, and I mean, he's a Hall of Fame player. I mean, it's really getting pretty fractured, the voting patterns.
216-575-0403 to talk about the Hall of Fame. I talk about Sokolowski's University and Hall of Famers, no matter how you arrive at that decision. You could arrive at it by knowing that they won the James Beard Foundation Award just 2-3 years ago. Only 5 restaurants chosen in the country each and every year. And as far as I know, best of my knowledge, they are the only ones ever from the city of Cleveland. Jonathan Sawyer as a chef was chosen, but for a restaurant, nobody but Sokolowski's University, and the oldest family-owned and operated restaurant in all of Northeast Ohio, located in Tremont. Take the Abbey Avenue exit out of downtown Cleveland. That's where you find them. They've been with me for 26 consecutive years. How many years did Omar play?
24.
24. Well, they even beat Omar. Let's take a break. We'll come on back in a moment. More Sports and Les Levine continues with Jim Ingram on cleveland.com.
Transform your ugly, damp basement with the beautiful Nature Stone floor. Authentic Nature Stone brand flooring is durable, unaffected by water, and inhibits the growth of mold and mildew. No other floor covering outperforms Nature Stone. For a limited time, when you buy more, you save more. Up to 30, 40, or even 50% off on a beautiful Nature Stone basement floor. That's right, save up to 50% on material and up to 50% on installation. Call or go to naturestone.com today. It's not just a floor, wow, it's Nature Stone.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget, Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a line. A long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Jim, let's take a look at this date in Les Levine history. There you go, 1964. Les commits to Ohio State as a political science major.
There was a big competition for you, I hear, back then.
Yes, I was a 4-star political scientist.
That wasn't on ESPN when you committed.
No, it was. Neither was ESPN on ESPN back then. Let's go. I should have been committed. Let's go to the phones. We'll go to Chardon for George. Hello, George.
Hey, Les. Thanks for taking my call.
George, I had no choice in that matter.
No choice. I hear you.
What's on your mind?
Question. You know, I hear a lot of talk about the Indians, about their starting pitching with Kluber, and a lot of conversation about the outfield, which I totally agree with. I can't see creating a problem or solving a problem and creating a problem. That would be getting rid of Kluber. But my comment was
that's a good way to phrase it, by the way.
Well,
solving a problem by getting rid of it.
Yeah, I think that's what they're faced with, to come up with a productive outfielder in terms of home runs. But, you know, what I haven't heard is any conversation about the Indians and what their plans are for the back end of the bullpen. And I'm talking about Miller. I'm talking about Cody.
All right. First of all, Jim, is there any significant interest in Cody Allen and Miller?
Well, not for them, and not for any of even the big name relievers. I mean, Kimbrel hasn't signed with anybody, and usually you got to have the top guy at each position set the market by signing.
Then the pyramid comes.
Then people kind of fall in behind him.
Yeah.
So until Kimbrel, Familia did sign, I think, with the Mets, or maybe that was a trade. But anyway, the market for the relievers is slow after last year. There were a lot of guys, Brian Shaw being one, who got big money and didn't perform, and it's such a volatile part of the rosters. A lot of teams, I think, are a little wary of giving big money to relievers these days.
Well,
go ahead.
I think in the Indians situation with the starting pitching, you know, if you look back a couple of years when they were most effective, you know, they were getting production through the 5th and 6th inning, you know, and then they had Shaw, they had Allen, and they had Miller that came in the 7th, 8th, and 9th. And Shaw was a good setup man when he was on. But that being said, you know, at the end of the season last year, Miller really struggled. He looked terrible after he came back from the injury. He wasn't himself. And Allen's lost he's lost his command on his fastball, and his big weapon was his curveball. But you know, he struggled last year, and I think really, in my opinion, a closer, a real successful closer, is more mental than it is physical. I mean, you got to have a guy that's got that killer instinct, and I think that's where Cody lost it last year.
And you got to have a guy that has a bad memory.
Yeah.
If you blow a game, you better be ready to forget about it the next time you're out there.
Well, that's what I mean. I think some of those blown saves that he had, I think they began to affect him mentally. And you know, when your confidence goes as a closer, you're done.
You agree with that?
Yeah, and historically, the shelf life of a closer is like about 4 years.
Right. Yeah, Brian Shaw is a perfect example.
Brian Shaw, Chris Perez.
Yeah. Joe Smith.
Joe Smith. You can go right down to almost any team. After about 4 years, I mean, it's a lot. It's a pressure-packed spot, obviously, and you know, some guys can be really good at it for 4 years, and then they fall away. And a guy like Mariano Rivera, who's on the ballot this year, was never bad at it. So,
right.
But that's the other thing. That it's such a volatile profession in the bullpen that, you know, a guy that was leading the league in saves 1 year would be awful the next, and the reverse could happen, like Joe Borowski, for example.
Yeah, right. Okay, George, we got to go. Have a great holiday, okay?
Right. You guys do the same thing.
Good.
Thanks a lot.
Great to talk to you. 216-575-0403 if you want to get in on the last segment. Northfield Park, your home for live and simulcast racing. They are open early every day at noon for thoroughbred and harness tracks from all over the world. It's free admission, free parking every day at Northfield Park. They will be, however, closed on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. Jim Ingram and I return one more time right here on cleveland.com.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program has been recognizing role model students and teachers since 2007. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to OhioLottery.com. In the About section, find Supporting Education. There, you can nominate students in kindergarten through 12th grade as academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as the Teacher of the Month. Every school that participates is eligible for the School of the Year. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
I had bad credit, so I wasn't able to get a bank account or a credit card.
My life is so busy, I don't have time to be standing in line to cash a check.
That's why we created the NetsBand Prepaid MasterCard. It puts you in control of managing your money.
I can get my money up to 2 days earlier than everybody else. I don't have to wait till the end of the week to get paid.
Order now at no cost and get paid up to 2 days faster.
Call 1-800-644-0772.
Call now and you can choose your card design.
Hoynesy will be here tomorrow night. Paul Hoynes of cleveland.com and the Plain Dealer. You see us live from 6 to 7, then it's replayed all day long on cleveland.com. If you miss us, you can catch us anytime. Let's go to the phones. Let's go to Chuck, who's in Masery, Ohio. Hello, Chuck.
Hi, last night, Jim.
Hi.
Hi, Chuck.
Hey, just a couple of Hall of Fame questions for Jim. Jim, Mariano Rivera is going to get in probably first ballot, obviously, with probably one of the highest percentages ever.
Yeah.
But what do you think about Edgar Martinez this year? With Baines getting in, is that almost put Martinez in this year?
Even if Baines hadn't gotten in, I think Edgar was going to be in this year. I mean, he's gotten a steady increase in the last few years, and I think everyone is he just missed last year, I think, by like not a lot of votes. So I'd be really surprised if he's not in.
He's another example, like I talked about Brooks Robinson. It seemed like he hit 900 against the Indians.
Yeah, he did, yeah. And he was another one who hit the ball hard all the time.
Yeah.
Can I ask you about a couple other guys, Jim?
Sure.
Is Kurt Schilling a Hall of Famer in your eyes?
Yes, I voted for Schilling.
And then how about Larry Walker?
I did not vote for Larry Walker. That's a battleground state, as we say. A lot of writers are all in on him, and a lot of writers like me just can't get over that home and away split where he played 10 years in Coors Field. Where, and I looked it up, his like slugging on base and batting average, they were in many years like 100 points higher at home than it was on the road.
Unbelievable.
And I just have a hard time getting past that. I know he was a great player, but to me, it's not his fault that he had to play there in those years, but that's the reality.
One more guy that actually was in Cleveland for a while that doesn't get a lot of recognition, and I think last year was his first or second year on the ballot, didn't get much. And this guy is the all-time leading home run hitter for second baseman, is Jeff Kent. What's your feeling on Jeff Kent?
Yeah, I did not vote for him, but I know a lot of guys that will and are. He's one of those kind of sneaky guys that when you look at his career in total, the numbers are pretty close to where, in fact, I think he ranks on some analytics charts like in the top 20 all-time in second baseman statistically. So you can make a pretty solid argument for him, but
I forget the year. Didn't he pop up with guys on base in the last game of? I forget who they playing in the playoffs. I think the Orioles.
I always remember the great Bob August used to always tell me, when it comes time to vote for the Hall of Fame, if you saw the player play, you shouldn't have to look up his numbers because he should have made such an impact visually to you that you said to yourself, "There's a Hall of Fame player."
That's Omar Vizquel.
Exactly. Yeah, and for me, it wasn't Jeff Kent, but Omar absolutely was a.
Well, Kent might have been one of the first second basemen that was there under the John Hart theory of power hitting, or an second base being an offensive position.
And he really was just starting to scratch, the surface on that. And when he went to the Giants is when he went nuts. I mean, he won the MVP over Barry Bonds one year,
right?
And had as big a years as some of Bonds in some of those years. So it was after he left Cleveland that he really kind of exploded statistically. But he's an interesting guy, an interesting character on this.
Going back to Mazeroski at second base. He
had Joel Brown Joel Brown on the committee, just like La Russa was on the committee for Baines this year.
Oh, that's what got Mazeroski in?
Yeah, that's what got.
I mean, if you're talking about great moments in baseball history, that's one of them. But that doesn't make him a Hall of Famer.
Well, but Les, at the time, and I know that's changed, he's the best defensive second baseman ever. So how do you not put the best defensive second baseman in? And he was at the time. I'm not saying he is now. Can I ask you real quick? I know
you got to go, but hurry up.
Yeah, a couple. There's so many old-time committees, it's hard to keep up. But Jim, what about Dick Allen and Al Oliver?
That would be a no on Oliver for me. Dick Allen, I'd have to look closer at.
You talk about a guy hitting the ball hard.
Yeah,
that's him.
You better look at Oliver again, Jim.
I know his numbers in there.
Chuck, I got to go. Thank you for the call. Good to talk to you. Jim, we got to go. Thank you so much. Have a great holiday, and we'll see you after the holiday.
Same to you.
Very good. Of all the shows I've ever done, this was the most recent.